Noor was a poor girl, but she was very beautiful. She was working alone in a deserted mansion. In that mansion, a Jinn had been waiting for a beautiful girl for hundreds of years. The Jinn tempted Noor with wealth and forgot everything in her love. What he did to that innocent girl will make your soul tremble. This is the story of Noor, who lived in an old mud house in Noorabad. Her life was not like that of a fairy. There was innocence on her face and light in her eyes, but the circumstances had stolen her smile. Every day was a struggle. Taking care of her sick mother, empty utensils, a broken roof, and a small flame of hope in her heart. Noor's mother, Fatima Bibi, was a kind-hearted woman but had been bedridden for the past 4 years. Her body was worn out, there was no money for medicine, and no close relatives ever came to visit. There was no source of income. Many nights passed with an empty stomach. But Noor never complained to her Lord. Every morning Noor would wake up with the call to Fajr prayer, prostrate on her old prayer mat and recite from the Holy Quran. Her prayers always had one plea: "O Allah, grant my mother healing and bless us with a source of halal livelihood." Many people in the village advised her to take bad paths. Some offered marriage for selfish reasons. Others wanted to hire her as a maid. But Noor always gave the same answer: "What my Lord has written is best. I cannot sell my patience." Then one day an old woman from the village told her that there is a deserted mansion at the edge of the forest where no one has been able to stay for long. But now the owners live in the city and they need someone to work there. They pay good money for hard work. Noor looked into her mother's eyes. Weakness, pain, and helplessness stared back. She made up her mind. Even if there is a devil in that mansion, I will go with the name of Allah and the recitation of His words. She took her mother's permission, put 2 pieces of bread and a small Quran in her bag, and set out on a journey where her patience and faith were about to be tested like never before. The mansion Noor was heading to was called Shamsi Haveli, which once belonged to the landlord Nawab Zainul Abidin Shamsi. About 100 years ago, it was the grandest mansion in the village. Marble walls, huge chandeliers, gardens, and fountains. Nawab Sahib was extremely wealthy, but he had only one child, a daughter named Zuleika. They say Zuleika was extraordinarily beautiful, but very arrogant. One day, her marriage was arranged with a decent but poor boy whom she didn't like. That very night, Zuleika locked herself in the topmost room of the mansion, and by morning her body was found hanging from the chandelier. But the strange thing was, there was a frown of anger on her face, as if even in death she hated someone. After that, strange events began occurring in the mansion. Servants started disappearing, some went mad, some were found muttering and wandering in the forests. The village elders say that someone used black magic to trap jinns in the walls of the mansion. And now they roam free. Many claimed they heard a girl crying at night from the mansion. Some said they saw a woman in a white dress through the windows. Children in the village were scared to go near the mansion, and the adults would pass by from a distance offering a greeting. They say whoever went there to work couldn't last long. Some left out of fear and some disappeared forever. But when Noor heard all this, she said only one thing: "If this mansion belongs to the Jinn, then my Lord is also Rabbun Nas, Malikin Nas, Ilahin Nas." And with this belief, she stepped inside the gate of that mansion, where time was hidden in the cracks of the walls. And Zuleika's complaints still echoed in the winds. The invisible presence residing in the walls of Shamsi Haveli was no ordinary jinn. His name was Camille, and he was neither fully jinn nor completely human. He was among those spiritual jinns who were once worshippers and pure like angels. His connection with Allah was deep, and he was on the list of jinns destined to enter paradise. But hundreds of years ago, a test broke him. Camille fell into a spiritual love with a human girl. He became so immersed in that love that when the girl married someone else, Camille complained to his lord, "You placed love in my heart, then why did you take her away from me?" This complaint pulled him out of the realm of spiritual jinns and dragged him toward the borders of worldly love and Iblis. He came to the mansion, tormented, where Zuleika's hatred and the curse of her death had already filled the walls with demonic forces. Camille wandered alone in that mansion for years, a soul broken in the name of love. When Noor first entered the mansion, her voice, her recitation, her patience, all of it began to settle like peace within Camille's shattered existence. He would watch her secretly every day, when she prayed with prayer beads for her mother, when she whispered Quranic verses while sweeping, when she cried in prayer at night. For Camille, this was no ordinary girl. This love was not physical, but it filled that empty space in his soul which had been lonely for centuries. But a jinn's love for a human, and the two for a devoted servant of Allah, was this love pure, or was it the beginning of another sin? Camille himself was caught in this confusion, but this time he was ready to cross all limits to attain that love, not for Noor, but to feel complete himself. And this was the beginning of a journey where the line between love and creation began to blur. It had only been a few days since Noor arrived at Shamsi Haveli, but Camille's madness was growing by the day. He watched her every moment, stayed around her, but never revealed himself. His way of loving was strange, not to frighten her, but to win her over through love and comfort. One night Noor was crying because she had no money to buy her mother's medicine. Suddenly the cupboard door opened on its own, and a pouch fell to the ground. It was full of gold coins. Noor was frightened. She understood this wasn't a human act. Trembling, she began reciting the Quran, but the coins remained on the floor. That same night, she heard a voice in her dream. "This is for you, Noor. Just say yes. You and your mother will never suffer again." Noor opened her eyes and immediately went into prostration. "Ya Rabbi, your given patience and pride are enough for me. I do not need anyone else's protection. I want your support, not the favor of any jinn." The next day, the walls of the mansion began to smell sweet. Silk sheets appeared on the bed, roses on the table, and her mother's medicines appeared on their own. Noor removed everything. She recited Surah Baqarah from the Quran and said firmly, "If all this is from some hidden creature, then listen carefully. I am a servant of Allah, not anyone else." This was the first time someone had rejected Camille with such patience, faith, and self-respect. He writhed in anguish. But because of the power of Noor's prayers, he stepped back. That night, Noor placed her hands on her mother's feet and prayed, "O Allah, you are the helper of the poor. You are also the Lord of me and my mother. If you wish, you can ease our troubles without the help of any jinn or human." The next morning, a kind man from the village, Hafiz Ibrahim Sahib, suddenly came to the mansion and said, "Daughter, I felt a strange pull in my heart. It felt like a pure soul was in need of help." Tears welled up in Noor's eyes. Camille was watching, and now his love had a new challenge, Noor's unshakable faith in Allah. When Hafiz Ibrahim reached the mansion, Noor told him everything. The pouch of gold, the voices in dreams, the silk sheets, and her mother's medicines. Taking a deep breath, Hafiz Sahib said, "Daughter Noor, the test you're going through is not only yours, it is the story of every believer who does not understand the true meaning of tawakkul, trust in Allah. Remember, whoever trusts Allah, Allah is sufficient for them." Then he explained, "Tawakkul doesn't just mean praying. It means having the firm belief that help will come only from where no one can even see, only from Allah." Noor nodded with tears in her eyes. Hafiz Sahib also taught her how to protect herself from satanic whispers. Whenever you feel an unknown voice or temptation, recite A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim and read Surah Al-Falaq and Surah An-Nas. These two surahs are called Mu'awwidhatain. They offer protection from all evil. He gave Noor a small tasbih, prayer beads, and said, "Whenever you feel afraid, recite Ya Hafizu 33 times and Ya Mutakabir 33 times. Allah's protection will become a shield around you." Noor asked, "But Hafiz Sahib, do jinn really exist? Can they really harm us humans?" Hafiz Sahib smiled and replied, "Yes, the existence of jinn is proven in the Quran. Surah Al-Jinn is entirely about them. Even the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, invited the jinn and recited the Quran to them. But the jinn who follow the path of shaitan mislead humans through whispers and deception." Then he narrated a hadith. Shaitan flows through the human body like blood, but dhikrullah, remembrance of Allah, drives him out. From that day on, Noor began reciting Surah Al-Baqarah in every room of the mansion. Camille heard all of this every day. His heart would burn, but in a strange way, he also felt peace. For the first time he realized that to win Noor's love, he didn't need to fight her Lord. He needed to understand him. Near the mosque of the village Noorabad, under the shade of an old neem tree, sat an elderly man often seen turning prayer beads. His name was Hafiz Ibrahim, age 65. But in his eyes there was a light, and in his heart a passion that could even put the youth to shame. Whenever someone in the village fell ill, needed a Fatiha, or sought advice on a child's education, they always remembered Hafiz Sahib first. Every word of his was tied to the Quran and Hadith. There was such spirituality in his voice that young girls like Noor would sit in front of him to learn recitation, and elders would find comfort in his prayers. One night, while he was immersed in tahajjud prayer, he suddenly felt a deep restlessness, as if a pure soul somewhere was calling for help. He immediately gathered his belongings, picked up the Holy Quran and spiritual books, and headed toward the mansion. Noor was surprised to see him. When she explained her condition, Hafiz Sahib placed his hand on her head and said, "Daughter, you are caught between love and the whispers of shaitan. But remember, nothing is greater than the pleasure of Allah." He began reciting Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayatul Kursi, and Surah Al-Jinn in every room of the mansion. Hafiz Sahib gave her a bottle filled with blessed water, over which he had recited Surah Al-Fatiha and Surah Al-Ikhlas 41 times. He said, "Sprinkle this water in every room, and at night be sure to recite Surah An-Nas, Surah Al-Falaq, and Ayatul Kursi. This cools the fire of the jinn." Camille, watching everything from behind the walls, for the first time felt weak and shaken. For him, this was not just any Hafiz, but a spiritual warrior, fighting not with mere words, but with the light of Allah's words. Hafiz Ibrahim was now watching over Noor, not just protecting her from the jinn, but from every path that could take her away from Allah. He said, "Noor, you not only have to fight the jinn, but also your own nafs, inner desires. The fire of love only becomes light when it includes Allah's pleasure." And now in the mansion, on one side, Camille's love was intensifying, and on the other, through Hafiz Ibrahim's prayers and the light of the Quran, the mansion itself was beginning to change. Inside the Shamsi Haveli, a silent battle was ongoing between jinn and human. But far away from that mansion, in a mud hut in the village, a mother was bowed before her Lord. Fatima Bibi, Noor's mother, was still bedridden, but her soul cried out every day. Her daughter's honor, her faith, and her lonely life were burning her heart. Since Noor had left, she ate less, but prayed more. Every night she cried and said, "Oh, my Lord, you know how my daughter is. She walks your path, loves your book, and I have left her in your care. protect her from every misguidance, from any jinn, from any human or satanic force. One night, while Noor was reciting the Quran inside the mansion and Camille was watching her from behind the wall, he suddenly felt a strange spiritual vibration, as if some unknown light had entered the mansion. Camille stepped back and for the first time felt suffocated. At that very moment, in that village hut, Fatima Bibi was in prostration saying, "O Allah, if you need my life to protect my daughter, then take me, but keep her safe from all evil." Her prayer tore through the heavens and reached the throne, Arsh, of Allah. They say a mother's sincere prayer can even change destiny. And that night Camille realized, Noor is not alone. She is protected by the prayers of a mother who has a direct connection with Allah. The next day Noor saw a white light through one of the mansion's windows and felt a strange peace in her heart. She understood. Her mother must have prayed, and her Lord must have answered. She repeated a verse from the Quran, Udhkuruni azkurkum. Remember me, I will remember you. Noor's repeated refusals and her constant seeking of refuge in Allah's name were slowly turning Camille's love into pain, and then into obsession. At first he felt peace just being around Noor. Now he began to feel insulted by her every action. I wanted to give her everything, wealth, comfort, even her mother's healing, and she rejected me. Just because I am a jinn,